Before I start off, no, I wasn't raised by demons or ghosts or anything like that. Before I went out into the world of cars and skyscrapers and humans, I wasn't aware of the word paranormal. My first memory was manifested when I was 5 years old. I remember toddling across the rocks and leaves, my small feet caked in mud. I was playing a game of hide and seek with the ones who raised me, and I had wandered a bit too far into the mud in search of a place to hide. I was then swept up in the arms of one of my caregivers, and they carried me to a stream to get rid of the mud that covered my tiny little body. They each stretched to a height of around 8 feet tall, and had long, stick-like limbs. It was like they were made of the very essence of nature. Their bodies were made of a combination of wood and leaves. Their eyes were the most vibrant and colorful flowers I'd ever seen. They had no mouth, but they did communicate. It was like telepathy. In my early years, it was hard to distinguish singular thoughts from the messages of those communicating with me. They were truly beautiful creatures, and they never had or felt any ill intention to any other living creature. They never killed, never polluted, and never harmed. I was raised on a diet of tree nuts, berries, and tree fruits. They seemed to be aware of every organism living in the area they resided in, and went out of their way to avoid inflicting accidental harm to them. They were what I aspired to be. My first encounter with humanity took place when I was around age 11. I was playing with a small wooden doll that one of the elders had given to me as a birthday present when I heard a foreign sound penetrate the comforting quietness of the forest surrounding me. I looked up and saw a large male human. He had a grizzled look, and he was staring at me with a visible confused expression on his wrinkled complexion. I was frightened. I had never seen anything else that looked at all similar to my species. I wasn't stupid. I knew I wasn't the same as my caregivers. The man took out a strange device I now know was a phone and started pressing buttons on it when I heard my caregivers coming. The man dropped his device and looked behind me, a look of pure terror written on his features. I wasn't sure why he looked so scared. These beings would never hurt anybody. One scooped me up in its big arms and carried me away from the strange man. When I was 15, I came across a whole group of humans while looking for my breakfast. I was old enough to somewhat care for myself. My caregivers were skeptic and didn't want to see me hurt by outside forces. I convinced them that I could handle myself. The men stopped when they saw me picking berries from a large bush. I heard them speak in a language that I did not understand, and one of them started walking towards me. I backed up, cautious of the possible threats to my society. The men spoke the same tongue that I could not comprehend. I ran off, back to my family. As far as I know, they didn't follow. My final day in the care and comfort of my beloved caregivers was the day I turned 17, and we were in the midst of a celebration when I heard loud bangs. They heard it too, and huddled around the perimeter, protecting me and the other young ones. And then one of the bangs was closer. An elder fell to the ground, its wood crumbling and decaying. The flowers it had as eyes turned gray. More of these bangs rang out as I saw every being that cared for me and nurtured me fall dead. I was the last living thing standing. I panicked and everything went black. When I came to, I was in a completely unfamiliar place. It was white and it had walls, and I had strange fabric on me that covered my body. I was terrified. I didn't know where I was. My caregivers were gone, and I had no clue if I would ever see one again. I came to be familiar with the civilized way of life. I learned their native tongue, English. I learned all the basic rules and common courtesy that I had missed in my time with my family. I act like a normal human, but the truth is, I will never forget my upbringing. I was raised not to hate, not to wish harm to anything, but I couldn't help feeling that way to the very species that took my family away from me. I've learned that man destroys and kills that which he cannot understand. The beings that raised me were pure, but they stayed away from man for a reason. I can't help but feel disappointed in the hatred I feel for man. I've written this to spread the message. You don't need to fear things that you don't understand. You need to embrace it. I have reasons to believe that beings that are of the same essence of my caregivers are still out there, but I can't be sure. Stop killing things you assume are evil just because they aren't like you. The real evil isn't otherworldly beings. It's the civilization of humans.